We are reimagining and rebuilding a classic Cox Cheetah slot car from 1965. Hi, my name is Doug, and this is episode 3 as we build the Cro-Sal Roadster. In the sidewinder configuration, the motor wants to be the same place where the driver wants to be, so we're going to have to fake this whole concept a little bit. And the way we're going to do that using a third-party driver is to make a whole bunch of cuts. We're going to cut the torso, we're going to cut the arms in half, and we're going to make this guy fit where it doesn't seem possible. This driver's origins are unknown to me. I'm not sure what kit he came from back in the 60s. This is a resin copy from the parts box. I've used this little guy several times because he is scaled perfectly for Cox slot cars in 1/24 scale. The original Cox driver just was a bit over scale for the cars. So to put in a full body of a driver, we're going to kick his torso back a little bit. He's going to be laying down in this thing and looking mean. Now, I know what you're thinking. We're going to have gaps everywhere. It's going to look ridiculous. Well, we're going to fill those in with milliput in just a little bit here. We'll cut off the top of the seat in the right proportion, and it'll look like it's supposed to be that way. We're stretching out his torso so his knees are up against the dashboard. His arms have to fit in a different way because they're stretched out way too far. And the arms, as they're cast, are really at the wrong angle, so we'll have to change that as well. This will all be put together initially with super glue because regular styrene glue just doesn't work on this type of material. For better safety, I've started using these metal discs, which also act as a sanding disc. Unlike the ceramic ones, they don't tend to explode at high speed. Now, if you squint your eyes a little bit, you'll see the proportions are correct. He actually looks a little like me. I've got a long torso, and I'd love to buy a lot of different kinds of sports cars, but unfortunately just don't fit in most of them. On the Mazda Miata, my eyes are about 8 inches over the top of the windshield. So I drive a Pontiac Solstice, one of the Kappa cars, because the design manager at GM at the time was 6'7". So thanks to Bob Lutz, tall guys like me can sit in a Solstice. To make this look even more realistic, I'm making a small dashboard that's going to fit in on the right side. Now, as you notice, there is no space at all for the control panel. That's okay, because we're going to make a special steering wheel to be able to fit in that space as well. Here's a new layer of primer on the body. We're making a lot of progress. There's just a few areas that we have to fill in on the front here, and of course on the dashboard area. Remember, we started this build with just a body that had been ridiculously over-sanded, and there were no other parts. So I'm using parts from the resin kit and some stuff called, well, blue stuff. Now, we've covered this in a previous video, but it's really fascinating to watch. This blue stuff polymer has a very low melt temperature. You drop this into a pan of boiling water between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. Then I use a cooking roller to roll it out and then place the pieces inside. Fill those hollows with some kind of resin. Here I'm using milliput, and you've got parts. This particular 2-part resin takes about a day really to reach full hardness. So what I do is I use that time wisely. I go in right after I pull it out of the molds, maybe after about 2 or 3 hours. Then I will use an X-Acto blade and start cutting around them because the material is still kind of soft. Now, over time, you say the next day, you can actually sand on those parts and they'll be dimensionally correct. Now, even though this material and this method is good for two-sided projects, you can also get them to totally complete if you bury them into the blue stuff. These parts are really tiny. We've had 2 different kinds of rear view mirrors. Look, there's even a fire extinguisher. Here's another couple of parts that we need to scratch build. These are the shrouds that hide the exhausts. Now here's something you may not have thought of. When you have a real tight spot, make your own steering wheel to make it fit. And this is a perfect time to do that. We make it from brass and styrene. We're not even soldering the brass here. We're just shoving that little seam into where a handhold and putting some styrene on the inside to make some supports. Alright, we're going to start populating the holes with our brand new parts, but we're going to be doing that in the next episode as we build this Cro-Sal Cheetah. We'll see you there.